Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Heck, as you can see from good old Kemmler boy, we're back with the vampires, gonna be taking on Norsca, so let's get to it. If you've seen any of my Kemmler builds before, this is nothing new. Front line of skeleton spears, backed up by a second line of skeleton warriors. The Triari, if you will, are the Grave Guard. We've also got Varix Reavers in the back, supported by the Dire Pack. Corpse Cart with Unholy Lodestone. Kemmler, of course, his spell loadout. If we go ahead and take a look here, it's going to be Invocation of the Heck, Dance Macabre, and Raise Dead. We've also got the Chaos Tombblade and Krell, of course. 2 units of Blood Knights, 1 on each flank, and that's pretty much it. For my Norscan opponent, he's got Wulfric the Wanderer on a Mammoth here, Mammoth War Shrine, 3 Berserkers, 4 Marauder Spearmen ranked up to rank 9, which is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this before, but they do have 50 melee defense, so maybe there's a little something to it. Anyway, we've also got the Miststalkers, Regiment of Renowned Famir, Shaman Sorcerer, Lore of Fire, not a bad pick, and yeah, that's pretty much it, so let's get the battle underway. Double Mammoth is, or at least it was in Total War Warhammer 1, the most common way for Norsca to deal with the vampires. It was pretty tough for the vampires to deal with Mammoths, but with Terrorgeist being as good as they are now, and Blood Knights also being a bit better at taking down armored units, I think that the Mammoths are maybe not the best pick. I mean, we'll see how they do here. They can definitely crush out a lot of vampire units. The other nice benefit to them is that they are just absolute meat bags. You can see over 10,000 HP on both, so they can take a lot of beating if they can hold their leadership together, and that is a big if, because the Mammoths don't have the greatest leadership in the world. So, yeah, let's see how it goes. You can see this Mammoth here, Wulfric, gonna come straight through on the front line. He's got his sights set straight on Kemmler, it looks like, but does get a little bit distracted on those skeleton spears. We're gonna get a general charge underway here. My opponent's just keeping his line static, and there's probably a very good reason for this, but nonetheless, Konigstein Stalker's going to get in here and deliver some nice blows to these Marauder Spearmen. With their ranked up melee defense, they won't take a whole lot of damage. They'll be able to hold against the lower tier vampire troops for quite some time. You can see Krell's coming, his axe is out, and the fact that he's standing on top of this big blob of vampire infantry means the Mammoth is going to have a hard time focusing his attacks on Krell or Kemmler. So to that aspect, it looks like the Mammoth's going to try and push through now and get back to the front line so it's not completely isolated and surrounded. Now an Overcast Burning Head going down, just roasting a bunch of units in the front line. Man, that just got a ton of kills for that Shaman Sorcerer. We're putting a Dance Macabre and Invocation on these Blood Knights who got around the flank, and we're dealing with the Miststalkers. Already done some really nice damage to them, while the Varix Reavers are going to come collapse on the rear of these spears, whose opponents had just collapsed. And it looks like also a Sea Fang going down for Wulfric, so the double wind just dealing a devastating blow to a lot of the vampire units. You can see my center's completely crumbled away. That being said, we've got the Dire Pack in reserve, going to bring them in to kind of help provide some extra bodies in this fight. Looks like Flaming Sword of Ruin going down in the front line there. The Chaos Mammoth War Shrine just kind of hanging back after finishing those Blood Knights off. Looks like they're maybe going to try and go after those Varix Reavers, but yeah, Blood Knights coming back around for another cycle charge on Wulfric here. Going to get a nice rear charge, and with Krell doing his little dance here, we've got Kemmler in here fighting the Blood Knights. We're going to drop a big old Dance Macabre just to give all these guys more melee attack. You can see these Blood Knights up to 76 melee attack, which is just absolutely massive. Let's see here, the Hound's also up to like 63 or so. Krell is at 81, so they're all going to be making really good contact, and you can see how much damage Wulfric took during that time, despite him even having the Scroll of Shielding. Varix Reavers delivering a punishing rear charge into these blobbed up Marauder Spears and Berserkers and so on. Blood Knights on the other side, there's Graveguard and Sternsman holding as well. Not looking good for the Norskins at this point. The balance power still is pretty even, but Wulfric's getting relatively low, and once Wulfric goes, there's going to be leadership issues. That being said, they have crumbled a lot of the vampire units, particularly the vampire spears. We've only got a couple of skeleton spearmen left, but it looks like another Flaming Sword of Ruin going down. That will increase damage against things like Varix Reavers and the Corpse Cart, but I don't have a whole lot of regenerating units in this army. Granted, the overall weapon damage buff is just good in general, but yeah, you can see we're focusing on this other Mammoth since Wulfric's over on the other side a little bit there. Another very nicely placed Sea Fang. But yeah, this Mammoth here is not long for this world. Again, because its attacks are getting distracted, it's not able to focus on Krell or the Blood Knights or, you know, some of the more high-value targets that are actually going to be the ones dealing damage to it. Now the attention is going to be focused on these Miststalkers here, and just in general, the Norscan force is going to get kind of ground down here. My opponent didn't really have the mobility to respond to the Blood Knights, and I do think that Blood Knights are probably going to be the toughest unit for you to take down, as the Norscans. I think Famir with great weapons are definitely a must-pick in this particular matchup, but my opponent unfortunately didn't bring any. The Mammoths, you know, they're nice on paper, and they will do relatively well, but at this point, the War Shrine's routed off, Wulfric's very, very low, down to only about 1,000 HP. My opponent is going to admit defeat there, so well played. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Krell showing off his power, helping to take down that double Mammoth there. Blood Knights also contributing, of course. The one unit kind of got crumbled away, but they did some really good damage to the Miststalkers and that other Mammoth. Managed to get an XP Chevron despite only getting 7 kills, 76 and 2 on 2 XP Chevrons. The other unit of Blood Knights there. Graveguard did okay, kind of being the Triari, coming in there in the late game and holding things together. Varix Reavers 47, love these guys in this matchup. They're great at clearing out the Norscan infantry. That regeneration makes them a little bit tankier in a cycle charging role. Wulfric did get 88 kills and a 237 for that Shaman Sorcerer from that Burning Head, which is quite impressive. But my opponent at the end of the day just didn't have the tools to deal with Krell, number 1. Number 2 would be the Blood Knights, of course, and the Varix Reavers, similar on a similar vein there. But yeah, in my view, you'd maybe want to cut Wulfric down. Throg is honestly not a bad pick just because the vampires don't have many units that have fire damage. Let's go ahead and just kind of quickly theory craft a list here. Like I said, in Total War Warhammer 1, the double Mammoth thing was a very popular way of dealing with the vampires, but I do think you need to have a little bit of a different paradigm now. Throg's pretty good in this matchup, although he can get focused by Blood Knights pretty hard because of his low armor. You'll want to be careful of that. Lore of Fire is always good. I would probably say you want to bring a Bale Fiend rather than the Shaman Sorcerer, just because the Bale Fiend's a little bit better in melee. He has armor sundering, magic attacks, just in case like a Banshee or something tries to assassinate him. So we'll grab Flaming Sword of Ruin, Burning Head, and Cascading Fire Cloak's also a really good one to have as well, in case Throg's in a very pitched melee engagement. But I would probably go with something like, you know, a couple of Famir Warriors with great weapons. You probably want a Hound Force to respond as well to try and kind of countercharge and maybe bog down some Blood Knights. Maybe you grab some Missile Cav as well, a couple Marauders with throwing axes. At this point, we're going to probably go relatively cheap on the front line here, which is a bit risky, definitely, but something like this, we've still got 500, so maybe we pick up, you know, a Marauder Spearman to help defend the back line or something, but something like this I think would be pretty solid. The Regiment of Renowned Famir are pretty good, but I do think that the Famir with great weapons are probably a little bit better of a pick here, just because of their anti-large bonus in particular. It's going to be very, very good against things like Blood Knights, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, what kind of build you would take Norsca versus Vampires. I know it's a pretty interesting matchup. Previously in Total War Warhammer 1, I would have said that belongs to Norsca all day. But now with some of the recent changes to different things, I do think that the Vampires have a pretty good matchup now in that particular matchup, I guess. But some different things for the Vampires here. We'll just quickly make some notes. Kemmler I like quite a bit just because you know, your opponent will probably be expecting more like the Red Duke or Manfred or something like that, and Krell being an infantry character and also having massive anti-large AP is actually a benefit, because if your opponent brings lots of anti-large, then that's not really going to be that great against Krell. So I like Kemmler as kind of a stealth pick here. I mean, obviously the Red Duke and Manfred are both quite good. Vlad even can be pretty good, although I do like Kemmler more because, again, Krell has an anti-large AP, very good at dealing with Famir and Mammoths, things like that. So in terms of other units, I mean, Hex Rates do have flaming damage technically, but as ethereal units are right now, and this is just ethereal units in general, because they have such low HP pools and rely so heavily on their physical resistance, it means that because there's so much magic damage in the game now, they're almost never going to be worth it in multiplayer, because like in this matchup, for example, you're almost guaranteed to see a unit or two of Famir, at least, if not more, and the Famir will beat the brakes off of Hex Wraiths, you know, Cairn Wraiths, anything with the Ethereal trait with that physical resistance in the low HP pool. Cairn Wraiths also have very low HP. I mean, the Banshee has very low HP. If we also just look briefly at Green Knight, has very low HP. He has 31, which is actually quite a bit higher than some of the other ethereal characters, but like Clan Angren, for example, has the ethereal Thanes. They all have about 2,000 HP, some even less, so I honestly think that they should increase the HP of ethereal units a bit, make them a bit more useful in multiplayer, because right now there's so much magic damage in the game that it's almost never worth it to bring ethereal units. Every faction pretty much has units that can deal magic damage consistently, or abilities at least that allow them to do so. But yeah, sorry, that was kind of a total tangent there, but I did want to point out that Hex Wraiths do indeed have flaming attacks, so if ethereal units weren't so terrible in this matchup, I would actually say that Hex Wraiths might be a decent pick here. They are relatively expensive, but Blood Knights are just objectively better right now because of their anti-large bonus, their massive charge bonus, 110 armor, missile block chance. They also have decent combat stats, and that is, of course, without Frenzy. They also have some missile resistance when they are not in melee, which is always nice. But yeah, overall, very fun matchup. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.